The transport vessel shook as it descended through the red clouds of Carveth 9. Dae-sung gripped the safety rail and watched the crimson wasteland grow larger through the viewport. His heart pounded in his chest, but his face remained calm. He had trained for this moment for 3 years. Everything he had lost, everything he had suffered led him to this test. Around him stood 11 other candidates. Some were human like him. Others were alien species he had only seen in videos. A tall blue-skinned Velcrin named Thos stood at the front of the cargo bay. His forearms crossed over his chest as he watched them all with yellow eyes that never blinked. "Listen carefully," Thos said, his voice deep and rough. "Carveth 9 is classified as a death world. 70% of candidates who come here do not survive. The rules are simple. You have 30 days. No weapons beyond basic tools. Limited supplies. If you survive, you earn citizenship in the unified systems. If you fail, this planet keeps you forever." Dae-sung glanced at the other humans in the group. There was Ji-won, a woman with sharp eyes and military bearing. She had been a scout in the border wars. Then there was Tae-min, a pilot who never stopped talking about his survival training. Both of them had ignored Dae-sung during the journey here. He was just an engineer, they thought. Not a fighter. Not a soldier. The ship landed hard on rocky ground. The rear door opened with a hiss and hot air rushed into the cargo bay. It smelled like sulfur and burning metal. Dae-sung grabbed his pack and followed the others out onto the surface of Carveth 9. The landscape looked like something from a nightmare. Red rocks stretched in every direction. Strange plants with black leaves grew in clusters, and in the distance massive rock formations rose like broken teeth. The sky was orange with 2 small suns hanging low on the horizon. "Your drop zone is marked," Thos announced. "You have 1 hour before this ship leaves. Use it wisely." The candidates scattered immediately. Some ran toward the rock formations looking for shelter. Others began gathering supplies from the crates the ship had dropped. Dae-sung moved carefully, his engineer mind already working. He noted the wind direction, the position of the suns, the types of rocks around them. Information meant survival. The first 3 days passed in a blur of activity. The group found a canyon system with caves and a small stream of water. It was not safe, but it was better than the open wasteland. Dae-sung kept to himself mostly, working on his shelter and purifying water. He noticed Ji-won and Tae-min talking often with 2 of the alien candidates. They formed a tight group, always whispering and planning. On the 4th day, Dae-sung made a discovery. He had gone scouting alone, marking paths and looking for food sources. He found strange tracks in the red dust, massive claw prints that made his blood run cold. But he also found something else. Behind a rock formation, he saw Ji-won and Tae-min meeting with their alien allies. They were dividing supplies more than they should have had. Dae-sung stayed hidden and listened. "We take out the weak ones first," Ji-won said coldly. "Less competition means better chances for all of us." "What about the engineer?" one of the aliens asked. Dae-sung. "He stays alone." "Easy target," Tae-min laughed. "That one is useless. No combat skills. He will die on his own anyway, but we can speed it up." Dae-sung felt anger burn in his chest, but he stayed quiet. He backed away slowly and returned to camp. That night he barely slept. He knew they were planning something, but he did not know what. The answer came the next morning. Dae-sung woke to find his water filtration unit smashed. Half of his supplies were gone. Ji-won stood nearby with her arms crossed and a cold smile on her face. "Accidents happen," she said. "This planet is dangerous. You should be more careful." Dae-sung stood up slowly. "You did this." "Prove it," Tae-min said, stepping beside Ji-won. "Or maybe you should just give up. Call for extraction. You are not cut out for this." The other candidates watched but said nothing. Young Soo, a quiet man who studied plants, looked uncomfortable but turned away. Mi-sun, another human, avoided eye contact. No one would help him. Dae-sung realized he was alone. "I am not calling for extraction," Dae-sung said quietly. "I will finish this test." "Good luck with that," Ji-won said. Then she and Tae-min walked away, laughing with their group. Dae-sung spent that day rationing what little water he had left. He knew he needed to find a new source fast. His map showed a possible water location deeper in the canyon system, toward an area marked in red. The Scorched Barrens. Every briefing had warned them about that place. It was where the most dangerous predators lived. Where 3 military teams had vanished. But Dae-sung had no choice. He gathered his remaining supplies and started walking. He did not know that Ji-won and Tae-min were watching. He did not know they had planned this perfectly. As he walked deeper into the dangerous territory, they followed at a distance. When Dae-sung finally found water near a cluster of black rocks, they made their move. Taemin threw a rock that clattered loudly against stone. The sound echoed through the canyon. Within seconds, Dae-sung heard something else. A hunting call, high-pitched and terrible. Then another. And another. He spun around and saw Ji-won and Taemin running back toward the safe zone. They had led predators straight to him. Dae-sung did not hesitate. He ran. His engineer mind calculated angles and distances even as fear pumped through his veins. Behind him, he heard creatures moving fast over rocks. He did not look back. Looking back meant dying. The canyon twisted and turned. Dae-sung's lungs burned. His legs screamed for rest, but he kept running. He saw an opening ahead, a massive cave entrance hidden behind fallen boulders. It was his only chance. He dove through the gap just as something large crashed against the rocks behind him. The creatures outside shrieked and clawed at the entrance, but they could not fit through. Dae-sung crawled deeper into the darkness, his hands scraping against rough stone. Finally, the sounds outside faded. Dae-sung collapsed against the cave wall, gasping for air. His whole body shook from exhaustion and adrenaline. He was alive, barely. Then he felt it. Heat. A presence in the darkness ahead. His eyes adjusted slowly, and he saw something that made his heart stop. Two enormous eyes opened in the shadows. Each one was the size of his head, glowing faintly orange in the darkness. The eyes fixed on him with an intelligence that was terrifying and ancient. A massive shape rose from the cave floor. Scales scraped against stone. Dae-sung saw the outline of something huge, something powerful, something that should not exist. 6 legs, a ridge of glowing spines along its back. Crystal formations that caught what little light existed in the cave. A Ravka Titan, the apex predator of Karveth 9, the creature that had killed entire military teams. And Dae-sung was trapped in its den. The creature moved closer. Its breath was hot and smelled like copper. Dae-sung could not move. He could not think. This was how he would die. The Titan lowered its massive head toward him. Dae-sung closed his eyes and waited for the end, but the end did not come. Instead, he felt something unexpected. The creature's breath washed over him, steady and rhythmic. Then warmth surrounded him as the Titan's body curled around where he sat. Dae-sung's mind could not process what was happening. The exhaustion was too much. His vision blurred and darkened. The last thing he heard before unconsciousness took him was a sound from the Titan. Not a roar. Not a growl. Something between a purr and a rumble that vibrated through the cave floor. Then darkness claimed him completely. Dae-sung woke slowly, his mind foggy and confused. He was warm, too warm. He tried to move and realized something was pressed against his back. Something massive and breathing. His eyes shot open and memories flooded back. The cave, the chase, the Titan. He was still alive. Slowly, carefully, Dae-sung turned his head. In the dim light filtering through cracks in the cave ceiling, he could see the creature clearly now. Black scales covered its body, each one the size of his hand. 6 powerful legs were tucked beneath its massive frame. Along its spine, crystal formations glowed with a soft orange light. The creature's head was the size of a small car, with intelligent eyes that watched him without blinking. A Ravka Titan. The thing that haunted the nightmares of every soldier who had tried to tame this planet, and Dae-sung was curled against it like a child against a sleeping dog. His rational mind screamed at him to run, but his body refused. He was too tired, too hurt, and something else stopped him. The creature had not killed him. It had kept him warm through the night. That meant something. Dae-sung sat up slowly. The Titan's eyes followed his movement, but the creature did not attack. Instead, it made that rumbling sound again, the one he had heard before passing out. Up close, it sounded almost like a cat purring, but deeper and stronger. Okay, Dae-sung whispered to himself. Think, analyze, why am I alive? His engineer mind kicked into gear. He looked around the cave more carefully. Behind the Titan, partially hidden in shadows, he saw something that made everything make sense. 3 large eggs, each one covered in the same black scales as the mother. They sat in a nest made of soft materials, positioned where the cave's heat would keep them warm. The Titan was a mother. A pregnant or nursing mother. She was protecting her nest. Dae-sung's knowledge of animal behavior flooded his thoughts. Predators with young were dangerous, yes, but they also understood vulnerability. When he had stumbled into her cave, exhausted and hurt, she had not seen a threat. She had seen another wounded creature seeking shelter. She had chosen mercy over violence. "Thank you," Daesung said softly, knowing she could not understand his words but hoping his tone conveyed meaning. The Titan tilted her massive head. The crystal spines along her back flickered, changing from orange to a softer yellow color. Daesung noted that. The colors meant something. Emotional states, perhaps, or communication. He stood up carefully, his legs shaky. Now that he could see better, he noticed something wrong. The Titan had deep wounds along her left side. 3 long gashes that leaked a thick bluish fluid. The wounds were infected. The scales around them darkened and cracked. "You are hurt," Daesung said. He took a step closer. The Titan tensed, her spines flaring bright orange. "A warning. I know. I am sorry. But I can help. I am an engineer. I fix things. Maybe I can fix you." He moved to his pack slowly, careful not to make sudden movements. His medical supplies were limited, but he had antiseptic gel and bandaging materials. He had studied xenobiology before coming here. He knew that most carbon-based life forms responded similarly to basic first aid. The Titan watched as Daesung approached with his supplies. Her eyes were wary but not hostile. He knelt beside her injured side and examined the wounds. They were deep. Claw marks, probably from another predator. The infection was spreading. "This will hurt," Daesung warned. He applied the antiseptic gel to the first wound. The Titan roared. The sound shook the cave walls and made Daesung's ears ring. Her spines flared bright red, but she did not attack him. She held still and let him work. For the next hour, Daesung cleaned and dressed the wounds as best he could. He used strips of his own clothing as bandages, wrapping them around the Titan's massive body. The creature tolerated his touch, occasionally making low rumbling sounds that seemed to indicate pain or discomfort. When he finished, Daesung stepped back. The Titan looked at her bandaged side, then at him. Her spine shifted from red to yellow to a soft blue color. She lowered her head and touched her snout gently to Daesung's chest. The gesture was unmistakable. "Gratitude. You are welcome," Daesung said, feeling emotion well up in his throat. In a world that had shown him only betrayal and danger, this creature had shown him kindness. "I will call you Hana. It means one. The first one to show me mercy here." Over the following days, an unlikely bond formed. Hana would leave the cave to hunt, always returning with food. She brought Daesung strange alien creatures, some still alive. At first he was horrified, but then he realized she was teaching him, showing him which animals were safe to eat, which ones were poisonous. She led him to underground water sources, crystal-clear streams that ran through deep caverns. She showed him edible plants that grew in the cave systems. She was not just tolerating his presence, she was actively helping him survive. Daesung studied her constantly. He documented everything in his data pad, which had survived mostly intact. He learned that her crystal spines were not just decorative. They glowed brighter when she was alert or aggressive. They dimmed when she was relaxed. Different colors meant different moods. Orange for caution, red for anger, yellow for curiosity, blue for contentment. She was intelligent. Not human intelligent, but smart in ways that surprised him constantly. She could solve problems. She understood cause and effect. When Daesung set up a simple pulley system to move heavy rocks, Hana watched once, then used it herself the next day. He realized something profound. Every report about Ravka Titans being mindless killers was wrong. They were not monsters. They were territorial parents protecting their nests. Every military team that had died had probably stumbled into nesting grounds without knowing it. On the 12th day in the cave, something changed. Hana's eggs began to crack. Daesung watched in amazement as 3 small heads pushed through the shells. The hatchlings were the size of large dogs, but they had the same crystal spines and intelligent eyes as their mother. They stumbled out of their eggs on unsteady legs, making high-pitched chirping sounds. Hana rumbled with pride and affection. She licked each hatchling clean, then gently pushed them toward Daesung. The hatchlings approached him cautiously. They sniffed at his hands and clothes. Then one by one they rubbed against him like cats seeking attention. They had imprinted on him. To them he was family. Daesung felt tears in his eyes. He had lost his family years ago in the colony disaster. He had been alone for so long. And now, in the strangest place imaginable, he had found a new family. Not human, but family nonetheless, Bile, he said, touching the first hatchling. Hanul, he named the second. Andal, he finished with the third. Star, Sky, and Moon, his new family. For several more days, life in the cave was peaceful. Daesung helped care for the hatchlings. He taught them simple tricks and games. He reinforced his bond with Hana. For the first time since arriving on Karveth 9, he felt safe. But on day 20, that safety shattered. Daesung and Hana were outside the cave, hunting together. They had developed a system. He would spot prey with his human eyes and strategic thinking. She would execute the hunt with her strength and speed. They were a perfect team. That was when Daesung saw the smoke in the distance. He climbed to a high rock and pulled out his damaged binoculars. In the valley below, he could see the other candidates' camp. Tents and supply caches, people moving around fires. And there, clear as day, he saw Jiwan and Taemin. They were alive, comfortable, laughing. They had tried to kill him. They had left him to die, and they were doing just fine. Rage burned in Daesung's chest, his hands clenched into fists. Beside him, Hana sensed his emotion. She looked where he was looking, then growled low and deep. Her spines flared bright orange, then red. She could feel his anger. She was ready to act on it. Daesung looked at Hana, this magnificent creature who had saved his life, who had trusted him with her children, who had shown him what real loyalty meant. He could unleash her on that camp. He could take revenge. Part of him wanted to, but another part, the part that Hana had taught through her example, hesitated. Revenge or survival, violence or wisdom. The choice was his to make. Daesung took a deep breath and placed his hand on Hana's massive neck. Her muscles were tense, ready for battle. Her spines glowed angry red. But when she felt his touch, she turned her head to look at him. Those intelligent orange eyes waited for his decision. Not yet, Daesung said quietly. Revenge later. Survival first. Hana's spine slowly shifted from red to orange, then to yellow. She understood, or at least she trusted his judgment. That was enough. They returned to the cave where the three hatchlings, Buell, Hanul, and Dal, played with rocks and sticks. Watching them, Daesung made a decision. He would not seek revenge. Not because he forgave Jiwan and Taemin, but because he had something more important now. A family to protect, a purpose beyond simple survival. Over the next several days, Daesung transformed from survivor to master of his environment. With Hana as his partner, the deadly wasteland of Karveth 9 became his territory. He marked boundaries around their cave system using a system of stacked rocks and carved symbols. Other predators learned quickly to avoid these marked areas. The presence of a Ravka Titan was warning enough. But Daesung added his own touches, creating simple alarm systems using loose rocks and vine tripwires that would alert them to intruders. Hana's wounds healed completely thanks to his care. She grew stronger each day and her trust in Daesung deepened. He fashioned a simple saddle from the hide of creatures they hunted, along with a harness that would not hurt her. At first, Hana resisted, but after several patient attempts, she allowed him to climb onto her back. The first time they rode together across the red wasteland, Daesung felt like he was flying. Hana moved with incredible speed and grace despite her size. The wind whipped his face. The landscape blurred beneath them. For the first time since arriving on this planet, Daesung felt powerful instead of helpless. They became a hunting team like nothing this world had ever seen. Daesung would scout from high positions, using his human vision to spot prey from far away. He would signal to Hana with gestures they had developed together. A raised hand meant stop. A pointed finger meant direction. A clenched fist meant attack. Hana learned these signals quickly. Too quickly. It confirmed what Daesung had suspected. Ravka Titans were not just intelligent. They were highly intelligent, possibly as smart as dolphins or great apes from Earth. One day they encountered a spine ripper. The creature was massive, with 6 legs and a tail covered in poisonous spikes. According to the briefing material, spine rippers had killed 2 candidates in previous tests. They were considered one of the deadliest predators on Karveth 9, but Daesung and Hana were deadlier. Daesung directed Hana to circle the creature, staying out of range of its spiked tail. He had studied the spine ripper's anatomy. He knew its weak points. When the creature lunged at them, Hana dodged with practiced ease. Then at Daesung's signal, she struck. Her powerful jaws closed on the back of the spine ripper's neck. avoiding the spikes. The battle was over in seconds. From the spine ripper's body, Daesung harvested materials. The hide became stronger bindings. The bones became tools and weapons. The poisonous spikes, carefully handled, became deterrents he placed around their territory. Nothing was wasted. Every kill served a purpose. The hatchlings grew rapidly. Bjol the largest showed her mother's strength. Hanul was quick and clever, always finding new ways to solve problems. Dal was the gentlest, often staying close to Daesung and bringing him interesting rocks or plants. Daesung trained them like he trained Hana. Simple commands. Trust exercises. He taught them that not everything had to be solved with violence. Sometimes the smart choice was to hide. Sometimes it was to run. Sometimes it was to fight. Knowing the difference was what mattered. Meanwhile, strange things began happening in the territories where the other candidates lived. Young Su, the quiet botanist who had watched Daesung's supplies get destroyed, was gathering samples near a canyon when he found something unusual. Stacked rocks in a pattern, carved symbols on stone, and nearby a cache of supplies, fresh water in sealed containers, dried meat, basic medical materials. There was no note, no explanation. But Young Su understood. Someone was leaving supplies. Someone who could survive well enough to share. He had heard the rumors. Stories of a ghost in the scorched barrens, a figure seen riding something massive in the distance. Most candidates thought the stories were hallucinations brought on by heat and stress. But Young Su believed. He had seen the footprints. Human boot marks walking alongside massive claw prints. Two creatures moving together with purpose and coordination. Daesung was alive. And he was not just surviving, he was thriving. On day 22, everything changed. Young Su was collecting plant samples near the edge of the safe zone. The double suns had set, and the red moon cast everything in crimson light. He did not hear the void stalkers until it was too late. The creatures came from the shadows. 6 of them, wolf-like predators with pure black fur and eyes that glowed white in the darkness. They hunted in packs and killed for sport as much as food. Young Su ran, but they were faster. They surrounded him. Cut off his escape. He fell to his knees, knowing he was about to die. Then the night exploded with light and sound. Hana burst from the darkness, her crystal spines blazing like fire. On her back rode Daesung, holding a makeshift spear made from spine-ripper bones. His face was set in fierce determination. The void stalkers scattered in confusion. Hana roared, a sound that shook the ground. She charged at the nearest predator and swatted it aside with one massive paw. Daesung threw his spear at another, striking it in the leg. The pack realized they were no longer the hunters. They were the prey. The void stalkers fled into the darkness, leaving Young Su alive but shaking. Daesung dismounted and approached carefully. Young Su stared at him in disbelief. "You are alive," he whispered. "How?" "Long story," Daesung said. He offered his hand. "The question is, what do you want to do now?" Young Su looked back toward the direction of the main camp, where Jiwan and Tai Min ruled with fear and lies, where he had stood silent while Daesung was betrayed. Shame filled his face. "I am sorry," Young Su said. "I should have helped you. I was afraid." "Everyone is afraid here," Daesung replied. "Fear is not the problem. What you do with fear is what matters. So I'm asking again, what do you want to do?" Young Su looked at Hana. The massive titan waited patiently, her spines now glowing a soft blue. She was calm, content. Not a mindless monster, but a thinking creature who had chosen to save him. "I want to join you," Young Su said firmly. "If you will have me," Daesung smiled. "Welcome to the team. But there are rules. We do not waste. We do not take more than we need. We respect the life on this planet, and we protect each other. Can you follow those rules?" "Yes," Young Su said without hesitation. "Good, come on. I will show you our home." As they rode back toward the cave system, with Young Su running alongside on foot, Daesung felt something shift inside him. He was not alone anymore. He had started to build something new. Not just survival. A community based on trust instead of betrayal. But back at the cave that night, as Daesung showed Young Su around and introduced him to the hatchlings, a warning alarm sounded. A rock pile they had set up as a perimeter alert had been disturbed. Hana's spines flared orange. She moved to the cave entrance and growled. Something was out there. Something big. Daesung grabbed his weapons and moved beside Hana. Young Su followed, his heart racing. In the darkness beyond their firelight, they heard heavy breathing, massive footsteps. Then in the crimson moonlight they saw it, another Ravka Titan, larger than Hana, a male judging by the larger spines and darker coloring. His eyes glowed fierce orange as he stared at them. At the cave. At the hatchlings. Hana roared a challenge. The male roared back. Daesung understood immediately. This was not a random encounter. This was a territorial dispute. The male Titan wanted the cave, the hunting grounds, and he would kill the hatchlings to eliminate future competition. Daesung looked at Youngsu. Get the hatchlings to the back of the cave. Protect them. What are you going to do? Youngsu asked, fear in his voice. Daesung climbed onto Hana's back and picked up his spear. What I do best, survive. The male Titan charged and the battle began. The male Titan, which Daesung mentally named Goliath, was massive. He was at least twice Hana's size, with spines that glowed fierce red and scars across his scales that told stories of countless battles won. When he roared, rocks fell from the cave walls. When he moved, the ground shook. Hana was brave, but Daesung knew she could not win a direct fight. She was still recovering from her earlier injuries. She was protecting hatchlings, which meant she could not use her full mobility. And Goliath was in his prime, a killing machine that had dominated this territory for years. But Hana had something Goliath did not. She had Daesung. Move left, Daesung shouted, directing Hana away from the cave entrance. She responded instantly, her trust in him absolute. Goliath charged where they had been standing, his massive jaws snapping shut on empty air. Daesung's mind raced through possibilities. Direct combat was suicide. But maybe they did not need to win. Maybe they just needed to survive long enough to make Goliath give up, or better yet, make this territory more trouble than it was worth. Lead him to the narrow pass, Daesung called. Hana understood. She ran toward a section of the canyon where the walls closed in tight. Her smaller size was an advantage there. She could move freely. Goliath would be restricted. They ran through the moonlit wasteland with Goliath in pursuit. Behind them, Youngsu stayed in the cave with the hatchlings. Baal, Hanul, and Dal cried out for their mother, but Youngsu held them back. They were too young to fight, too vulnerable. In the narrow pass, Hana spun around. Goliath crashed into the space behind them, but his massive bulk scraped against the canyon walls. He was trapped between stone barriers, his mobility severely limited. Now, Daesung shouted. He threw his spear at Goliath's face. The weapon bounced off thick scales but achieved its real purpose. It made Goliath angry. It made him focus on Daesung instead of Hana. Hana struck from the side, her claws raking across Goliath's exposed flank. She drew blood. First blood, Goliath roared in pain and fury, thrashing in the confined space. But his size worked against him. Every movement scraped him against rough stone. Every attack was clumsy and slow. Daesung reached into his pack and pulled out containers of the volatile mineral oil he had collected from deep caves. The substance was highly flammable. He had been saving it for emergencies. This qualified as an emergency. He smashed the containers against the canyon walls, coating the stone with slick oil. Then he pulled out his fire starter, a simple piece of flint and steel. Hana, back, he commanded. She retreated immediately, understanding danger when she sensed it. Daesung struck the flint. Sparks flew. The oil ignited with a whoosh that lit up the night. Flames raced up the canyon walls. Not enough to seriously hurt Goliath, but enough to terrify and confuse him. Titans might be fearless against other predators, but fire was ancient danger that all creatures respected. Goliath stumbled backward, trying to escape the flames. His spines flared panic-white. He crashed through the narrow pass, desperate to reach open ground. But Daesung was not finished. He had prepared the battlefield. Loose rocks balanced carefully above the pass. Fine tripwires connected to stone pillars. When Goliath crashed through in his panicked retreat, he triggered every trap. Rocks fell, a cascade of stone that struck Goliath's back and sides. Not enough to kill him, but enough to hurt. Enough to injure. Enough to make him reconsider this fight. Hana pressed the advantage. She charged at the wounded Goliath, using her smaller size to dart in and out, striking at his legs and exposed belly. Daesung directed her movements, calling out weak points and timing. They moved as one unit, human intelligence and Titan strength combining into something greater than either alone. Finally, bleeding and exhausted, Goliath retreated. He limped away into the darkness, his proud roars reduced to painful growls. He had learned a hard lesson. This territory had a defender who fought with more than just strength, who fought with mind and strategy. Hana watched him disappear, her spines glowing victorious gold. She had protected her home, her young, her family, but the victory came with a cost. Back at the cave, Daesung examined Hana's wounds by firelight. She had new gashes along her side, deep claw marks that leaked blood. The fight had reopened some of her old injuries. Young-Soo helped with bandages and antiseptic, his hands shaking but steady. The hatchlings huddled around their mother, chirping softly in distress. Little Hanyul had been injured too. During the chaos, a falling rock had struck her leg. She limped badly and could not put weight on it. Daesung worked through the night. He set Hanul's leg carefully, using splints made from straight branches and soft cloth. He stitched Hana's wounds with thread from his emergency kit. He administered what little pain medication he had left. As dawn broke over the red wasteland, both Titans were stable but weak. They would survive, but they needed time to heal. Time they might not have because Young-Soo had terrible news. "I need to tell you something," Young-Soo said quietly. "Before I left the main camp, I heard Ji-won and Taemin talking. They have communications equipment. Better than what we were supposed to have. I think they stole it from supply drops meant for everyone." "What does that matter now?" Daesung asked, exhausted from the long night. "Because they intercepted a message from the orbital station," Young-Soo continued. "The Galactic Survival Initiative has changed their plans. They detected unusual thermal signatures in the scorched barrens. They think it is a Titan breeding ground." Daesung felt cold dread settle in his stomach. "What are they planning?" "Orbital strike," Young-Soo said quietly. "They plan to sterilize the barrens. Eliminate the Titan population before it becomes a bigger problem for future colonization." "When?" Daesung demanded. 48 hours. 2 days from now. They are moving extraction forward. Everyone is supposed to head to landing zone Alpha immediately. Daesung looked at Hana, at her wounds, at the 3 hatchlings sleeping against her side. Hanul with her broken leg. Beal and Dal barely old enough to hunt on their own. None of them could make the journey to landing zone Alpha in time. And even if they could, what then? The orbital strike would kill everything in this region. His family would die. "We have to stop it," Daesung said. "How?" Young-Soo asked. "We are just 2 people. The decision comes from orbit, from the Galactic Council." "Then we change their minds," Daesung said firmly. "We show them the truth about the Titans, about intelligence and family and everything they do not understand. The only communication array strong enough to reach orbit is at the main camp," Young-Soo pointed out. "Ji-won and Taemin control it. They will never let us use it. Then we take it from them," Daesung said. His eyes hardened with determination. "Get some rest. We move at sunset. Hana needs the day to recover as much as possible." Young-Soo nodded and found a place to sleep. But Daesung stayed awake, his mind working through plans and possibilities. He looked at his data pad, at all the documentation he had gathered, proof that Ravka Titans were intelligent, proof that they were not mindless killers, proof that they deserved protection under galactic preservation law. But would anyone listen? Would anyone care? He heard movement and looked up. Misun, another human from the main camp, stumbled into the cave clearing. She looked exhausted and frightened. When she saw Daesung, she fell to her knees. "Please," she begged. "I need help. I made a mistake. I should have stood with you. I should have spoken up when Ji-won destroyed your supplies. I was a coward. But I cannot be part of what they are planning anymore." "What are they planning?" Daesung asked carefully. "Ji-won knows you are alive," Misun said. "She saw the supply caches you left. She knows someone is helping other candidates survive. She thinks you will try to stop the orbital strike, so she is planning to accelerate it. She sent a message claiming there is an immediate Titan threat. She wants them to fire the strike early, in 12 hours instead of 2 days. Daesung felt his blood run cold. 12 hours. That changed everything. "Why are you telling me this?" he asked. "Because I saw what she really is," Misun said, tears in her eyes. "She does not care about survival. She just wants to win, even if it means killing candidates who might still be in the blast zone. Even if it means destroying creatures that might be intelligent. She has become a monster, and I cannot follow a monster anymore." Daesung looked at Young-Soo, who had woken at the sound of voices. Then he looked at Hana, still too weak to travel, at the hatchlings who depended on them, at the countdown that had just become impossible. 12 hours to reach landing zone Alpha, 12 hours to stop Ji-won, 12 hours to save everyone. Wake up, Dae-sung said to Young-soo. We are leaving now. Misun, can you help carry supplies? Yes, she said firmly. Whatever you need. Dae-sung helped Hana to her feet. She was weak but determined. The hatchlings gathered around, sensing the urgency. Even little Hanul tried to stand on her broken leg, refusing to be left behind. They had 12 hours. It was not enough time. It was impossible. But Dae-sung had learned something important on this death world. Impossible just meant you had to be smarter, faster, more determined than anyone expected. He climbed onto Hana's back. Let's go save the world. The journey to landing zone Alpha should have taken 2 days on foot. Dae-sung had 12 hours. But he had Hana. They moved across the wasteland like wind across water. Hana ran despite her wounds, driven by the same determination that filled Dae-sung. Young-soo and Misun rode together on makeshift saddles, holding tight as the massive Titan covered ground at incredible speed. The hatchlings followed, even little Hanul limping but refusing to stay behind. Dae-sung's mind calculated constantly. Time, distance, options. He knew they could not simply storm the camp. Ji-won had defensive positions. She had allies. She had weapons that his group did not. But Dae-sung had spent 30 days learning this planet, learning its creatures, its patterns, its secrets. They reached a ridge overlooking the valley where landing zone Alpha sat. Dae-sung could see the camp clearly, fortified positions made from supply crates, candidates gathered around fires, and in the center the communication array, a tall antenna that connected to the orbital station above. There, Misun said, pointing. Ji-won and Taemin. They guard the array personally. Nobody gets close without their permission. Dae-sung studied the terrain. The valley was open ground with little cover. A direct approach would be spotted immediately. But the valley was also home to dustbacks, large herbivores that traveled in herds, harmless unless provoked, and Dae-sung knew exactly how to provoke them. Young-soo, Dae-sung said. You studied the plants here? Which ones do dustbacks eat? Young-soo thought for a moment. Red spine grass. It grows near water sources. Why? Because we are going to start a stampede, Dae-sung explained. He outlined his plan quickly. Young-soo and Misun would gather red spine grass and create a trail leading toward the camp. Dae-sung and Hana would spook the dustback herd from behind. The resulting stampede would force Ji-won's group to abandon their defensive positions. In the chaos, they would reach the communication array. It was risky. It was dangerous. But it was their only chance. They worked quickly. Young-soo and Misun gathered armfuls of the grass while Dae-sung positioned Hana upwind from the dustback herd. The hatchlings waited in a safe location, hidden in rocks. Dae-sung hated leaving them, but this part was too dangerous. When everything was ready, Dae-sung gave the signal. Hana roared. The sound split the morning air and sent the dustbacks into instant panic. The herd bolted, running straight toward the scent trail of their favorite food. Hundreds of the massive creatures thundered toward the valley. Toward the camp, the candidates saw the stampede and scattered. Defensive positions meant nothing against tons of charging herbivores. People ran in every direction, trying to avoid being trampled. Ji-won shouted orders, but nobody listened. Survival instinct took over. In the chaos, Dae-sung and his group raced toward the communication array. But Ji-won saw them. She abandoned her position and ran to intercept, with Taemin and 2 alien allies following close behind. You, Ji-won snarled when she saw Dae-sung. You should be dead. You left me to die, Dae-sung said calmly, dismounting from Hana. But I survived. I learned. I thrived. Everything you tried to take from me made me stronger. You are a traitor to humanity, Taemin shouted, pointing at Hana. You side with monsters against your own kind. Hana is not a monster, Dae-sung replied. She saved my life. She taught me what loyalty means. She is more human than either of you ever were. Ji-won raised a makeshift spear. It does not matter. In 10 hours, the orbital strike happens. Everything here dies, including you and your pet. Not if I stop it, Dae-sung said. You cannot, Ji-won said. The array is locked. Biometric security. Only Taemin and I can access it. And we will never let you. Behind Dae-sung, Hana growled low. Her spines glowed orange. She was ready to fight. But Daesung held up his hand. "Wait," he said to Hana. Then to Jiwon, "You are willing to let people die? Candidates still out there in the blast zone?" "Acceptable losses," Jiwon said coldly. "This is about the bigger picture. Humanity's expansion. Removing threats before they become problems." "No," a voice said. One of the other candidates, a human woman named Kyung-mi, stepped forward. "That is not acceptable. I thought this was a survival test. Not murder," others murmured agreement. They had been following Jiwon out of fear and convenience. But facing the reality of what she planned, many started to question. Taemin saw the group wavering. In desperation, he broke from the confrontation and ran toward the communication array. If he could lock it down permanently, the strike would proceed no matter what anyone said. Hana moved to intercept, but Daesung called her back. No, not yet. Instead, Daesung ran. His engineer mind calculated angles and speed. Taemin was faster, but Daesung knew he did not need to catch him. He just needed to stop him. He threw his knife. The blade spun through the air and struck the ground directly in Taemin's path. Taemin stumbled in surprise, losing his balance. He crashed into the communication array's control panel, and his flailing hand accidentally activated the emergency broadcast system. Suddenly, screens lit up. Cameras activated. A transmission began broadcasting directly to the orbital station and the Galactic Council chambers. Everyone froze. The broadcast was live. The council could see everything. Every candidate. Every word. And Hana standing protective behind Daesung. Proctor Thas's voice crackled through speakers. "What is happening down there?" "We are receiving unauthorized transmission." Daesung realized this was his only chance. He stepped in front of the camera. "My name is Daesung. I am a candidate in the Carveth 9 survival test. I need you to cancel the orbital strike. You are about to destroy intelligent life." "The Titans are classified as non-sentient predators," Thos replied. "They pose too great a danger." "That classification is wrong," Daesung said. He gestured to Hana. "This is Hana. She is a Ravka Titan. She is intelligent. She understands communication. She has problem-solving abilities. She forms family bonds. She showed me mercy when I was wounded. She taught me to survive. She is not a mindless beast. She is a thinking, feeling creature." He pulled out his datapad and connected it to the array. "I have 30 days of documentation. Behavioral studies. Intelligence tests. Evidence that proves Titans deserve protection under galactic preservation law." The council chamber fell silent. Daesung could see them on the screen. Alien faces considering his words. He pressed on. "Every attack on record happened because military teams threatened nesting grounds. Titans are territorial parents, not mindless killers. They defend their young, just like any intelligent species would, just like we would." Youngsu stepped forward. "I can confirm his data. I am a xenobiologist. What Daesung documented is scientifically sound. These creatures meet the criteria for protected status." Mi-sun joined them. "I witnessed it too. The Titan saved our lives. She and Daesung work together. They communicate. This is not a trained animal. This is partnership between two intelligent beings." More candidates came forward. Even those who had followed Jiwon now spoke up. They had seen the supply caches Daesung left. They had witnessed Hana's behavior. They knew he was telling the truth. Only Jiwon and Taemin stayed silent, their faces twisted with anger. On the screen, Thos conferred with other council members. Finally, he spoke. "Daesung, you are asking us to override protocol based on limited observation. The strike is already authorized. Satellites are in position." "Then delay it," Daesung pleaded. "Send scientists. Send proper researchers. Give them time to verify my findings. If I am wrong, proceed with the strike. But if I am right, you will be committing genocide against intelligent life." Can the council live with that? More debate among the council. Daesung waited, his heart pounding. Behind him, Hana moved closer. She placed her massive head gently on his shoulder. In front of millions of viewers across the galaxy, the gesture was unmistakable. Affection, trust, intelligence. Finally, Thos spoke. "The council has voted. Strike is postponed. A science team will arrive within 90 days to verify your claims. Until then, the scorched barons are placed under temporary protection." Relief flooded through Daesung. He had done it. He had saved Hana, saved the hatchlings, saved an entire species from destruction based on misunderstanding and fear. But Thos was not finished. However, there are other matters to address. We have been monitoring this conversation. We heard accusations of betrayal, sabotage, and attempted murder among candidates. Jiwon's face went pale. Jiwon and Taemin, Thos continued, his voice stern. You will remain on Carveth 9 under observation while we investigate these claims. Your test results are suspended pending review. 2 other candidates immediately confirmed the accusations. They had been bullied into silence but now spoke freely. The evidence was overwhelming. Extraction ships began landing in the valley. Candidates gathered their belongings, relief and exhaustion on their faces. The test was over. They had survived, but Daesung did not board the ships. You are staying? Young-soo asked. For a while, Daesung confirmed. Someone needs to be here when the science team arrives. Someone who understands the Titans, who can help them understand. I will stay too, Young-soo said. You will need a xenobiologist. And me, Mi-sun added. I owe you that much.